It's November the 8th, 2023, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I am Jarisar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, I'm Big Moran, a Warcraft Rumble esports expert.
Hi, I'm Treesap Jake, and I'm a cat who's learned how to woof.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What does that even mean, Jake?
I don't know. I think it just means I've ascended.
You've ascended. Oh my gosh. The cat. Next, you know, you're going to be the cat that knows how to use the toilet.
I wish.
Hey,
I still struggle with that.
That's a thing, you know, like people, I don't know how, like having a cat for 3 years now, I don't know how people would train a cat to do that because cats are the most stubborn little punks. So I don't even know, like you can't even get them to like follow you, like let alone use the toilet. Like that's impressive. If you can do that, you're a genius.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how they do it either. I am curious though. Big Moran, what's this Rumble thing you're talking about?
It's a mobile game. It's pretty fun, actually. I got to play it at Blizzcon, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I don't know. It seemed like a nice little way to just burn some time. And I was just joking. I'm not really good at the game. I just played it like a few times, but it was fun. You put some characters down, and they run across the map, and they attack characters that are running towards you from another player, and you just do this over and over. There's some you can kind of tell that there's maybe some strategy behind it, but it's it's one of those sort of auto play games, which are always, I think, kind of a blast to just burn some time with.
Nice. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. I know I played a little bit before it went live, because apparently it was available in Canada. I will say it's an absolute, like, I'm afraid to pick it up now because I'm afraid that I won't be able to put it back down.
Yeah.
Like it's that much fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, in that case, I guess so. In case anybody doesn't know, we're gonna skip a whole bunch of the preamble stuff, like the nitty-gritty and pass. We'll talk quickly about events, but we're gonna spend a whole bunch of time talking about BlizzCon and talking about the 10.2 news. So just hold on to your butts as we run through this very quick update on events.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right, so the only event that we are currently aware of is still the Trial Exploit Communities Bread and Circuses tournament. That's over on the EU. It's a 3v3 twink tournament. And there's a link in the show notes to their Discord. It's a bit.ly link. But by all means, go over there, sign up, have some fun, and enjoy. But that's about it. Again, throw that out to the community. If you are aware of any events that I'm not aware of, or any of us, please let us know. Either ping it into our Discord or on Twitter or whatever, and give it to us so that we can help spread the word and share the noise. And then let's get into the subject analysis here, guys, and let's talk about BlizzCon in 10.2.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right, there we go. So BlizzCon, although 10.2 is a little bit closer, BlizzCon, since it just happened, I think first, Big, you were there. Initial impressions. What do you think about BlizzCon this year?
So I think the overall consensus was that BlizzCon is actually WoWCon. And I don't want to take a jab at the event, but it seemed like most people were in the WoW section. Most people were there for World of Warcraft, which had one hall. I think Overwatch had two, and then Diablo had their own hall. Of course, as always, I mean, if you've never been to BlizzCon, it's a lot of eye candy, a lot of cool stuff to look at. The Diablo section was really beautiful. Had a lot of interesting art. The Overwatch stage just looked like something out of Star Wars. Basically, it looked crazy. The WoW section, I mean, we can get into it. There's a lot of different parts in the WoW section. But in general, I think a lot of people are just excited to have BlizzCon for the first time in 4 years, and we're really excited about World of Warcraft. I mean, that's just the atmosphere that's basically the vibe I got from everyone, is that everyone is basically here for WoW. And I mean, for good reason. There was a lot of crazy announcements, which we'll get into in just a bit, I'm sure.
Indeed. Now, Jake, you and I watched at least the first day live. Um, what was your take from the live stream?
Well, I sort of said this a lot on the live stream in general, but I thought it was a great BlizzCon to come back to. I think they did a fantastic job all around. I think the announcements were great. How portrayed was great. Like the effort that went in was fantastic. I really loved it. I think that was really, really fun. I really enjoyed it all. I thought it was a great watch as well. And I think all the developers did a really good job at presenting the ideas. I think there are certain aspects of it that annoyed me a little bit. I feel like, as we've mentioned multiple times, that WoW esports is such a hidden gem, or even an uncut gem, perhaps to quote that lady from TikTok. But it was an interesting thing that they didn't really give too much to it. Like as a lot of the pictures of people were sat down, like there wasn't much space. Obviously, we got nice live updates from Big on our little Discord channel, but it was interesting to see them kind of like start small. I'm hoping that by next year we get the big BlizzCon bits back. And as Big was saying, like it almost feels like a WoWCon. Let's put the focus on it and really kind of invest something into the esports side of it, because I think it has such a great potential.
Indeed. I think.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say for those of you who didn't see the pictures of the quote unquote WoW stage, I mean you can hardly even call it a stage. It was tucked away in the corners of the WoW hall. If you've never been to the Anaheim Convention Center, I mean it's a big place. But just, imagine your local convention center. The the uh, the PvP event, the Guild Clash, was being held in the corners. There was 5 TV monitors you could look at to see the games. I'm guessing they're like 40-inch TVs. There was no sound. There was a bunch of technical difficulties. There was no seating. It was just standing only, and the area you had to stand in was probably 30 feet from the wall. So you basically had people standing kind of crammed in these corners watching the broadcast happen without any sound, kind of just talking to each other. There was that later on in the day on Saturday they did start broadcasting the tournaments on a bigger screen, kind of deeper into the convention center. But that area was really limited and really crowded too. So yeah, it was just a lot of people standing around and watching esports. I mean, people showed up. That was the thing. I mean, despite there being basically no seating. It was very uncomfortable. I mean, my legs were tired as heck. People showed up and were, clapping, cheering, supporting the players. And the thing that was very interesting about this event, which was unlike any other event that I've ever been to, is the players were right there. They were just like, you could be, standing within a few feet of Maro, Waz, Peekaboo. It was, some people went up to the players, like kind of in between the matches, and maybe it just has a little bit of banter, which I thought was really fun.
That's awesome.
And it was just kind of cool. It was cool to see the sort of the behind the scenes of the production, because it was all happening right there, and so it was very fun.
I saw the pictures, and I'll say it was definitely a throwback to the old MLG Intel Extreme Masters days. Like, holy moly! I was kind of wondering where the plywood table and the rope top section was, but I'll say it was a little disturbing once I realized that was the streaming section. That's where people were invited to stream World of Warcraft from the convention. Big name streamers, like our friend Kexman from Bonus Roll was doing it. I think Andy Fuchsia was there. A few other big name streamers doing stuff, and then they basically open up these computers to allow these players, and it was, I think the thing that was really cool is that the players were also streaming their personal streams while they're competing at the same time, which I think was absolutely amazing. I'm a little disappointed. I didn't realize that there was no sound for you folks on the floor that were trying to watch it. I'm going to call you out, Big. I'm further disappointed that you didn't start, just automatically shoutcasting for the crowd.
Yeah, I guess Supatis and Venruki were in a completely different like building. Like they weren't. I mean, they were in the convention center, but they weren't in the halls. They were like in some office kind of. I didn't watch the stream. I didn't see if were they ever on camera. Ven and Supatis?
Yeah. They were. It was it was kind of a bluish wall. The two of them standing there, a bit of a logo behind of them. They were clearly standing close to each other. Like it wasn't the same production that we normally see, which is the big table with the caster desk, 4 people or something like that. They're obviously standing, watching whatever they were doing. So I'm assuming it was somewhere else in the building, but the fact that there was no sound pickup from any of the crowd stuff, they were obviously like second deck, third deck, somewhere else in the building. So yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that that stuff aside, why don't we? I'm gonna jig this around. Why don't we talk about the news that came out first and foremost? Let's talk about the War Within and the stuff that was announced for that. So obviously, like me and you, Jake, you and I, we were on the stream together, giving our hot takes and our quick reactions there. But I guess once again, jump right back into this. For the news that was announced, let's talk first war bands. Wow, just shout out. What do you guys think of war bands?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just the fact that it just needed to be a thing a long time ago, but I'm glad that it's there now. I think sharing a lot of that, was it like titles, mounts, everything through all your characters, I think is great. I'm correct on that. That's what warbands are, aren't they? It's the sharing of everything through all the characters, right?
Yeah, that's kind of my understanding. That's my understanding is that not everything. We did get confirmation that some things will not be shared, like super rare titles, like the rank 1 titles, won't be shared. Which is, I think, I'm not sure. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a good idea. I think we were talking about that when we were on the stream. We were sort of like going, well, I didn't mind the idea of that, but it's just so like, you got that on that specific character. You're a rank 1 feral druid. That doesn't mean you should be a rank 1 elemental shaman. That shouldn't pop up on both those characters. You're gladiator mount, fine, no problem at all. But I don't think those shouldn't really be shared from the character that you got that rank 1 on. So I think that's a good idea. But all the kind of transmogs and stuff like that, you know what they really need to do? They need to do it so they can, like, you can unlock the transmog you should have had in the past. That's what they should be doing a lot of work on, because I've got a set from Warlords of Draenor that I really want that they won't give me back. So get the warbands out and then give me the set that I want.
Well, I think they're talking about that with the warband stuff. Is it's going to work on obviously the War Within, and then they're going to slowly try to make it retroactive. So they're going to work first on Dragonflight and then move their way back through the expansions to try to make it retroactive as best they can. So,
and I mean, and I've seen that, like, gear is now shared between characters. Was there any indication that like PvP gear is shared, or is it just like, is there going to be a type of gear category called warband gear? Because that was kind of what was unclear to me.
From the mock-up that I saw on the stream, it said the gear was titled warband gear, so it seems like only specific sets or only specific gear. I think it's going to be for all of that. It seems to me like it's going to be all that catch-up gear that we'd normally get just as BOA, and then be able to move the token over to our alt, and then you click on it, it turns into the piece of gear you need. I think it's just that same thing. It's just it's being shown in a different way, but and then instead of having to mail it to yourself, it'll just be there. So, which I think is awesome. Yeah. Then So that's Warbands. I'm personally excited about it too. I think the other thing that was another really big system that they're talking about. I want this to be PvP also. If they could figure out a way to make it PvP in the future, but the delves. So
Yeah.
this is basically like another version of World Quest. It's just like any of those other things where you used to queue up and you would end up with some NPCs depending on how many people were in your party, and off you went. This seems to be exactly the same thing, only a bit more seamless. So you're not having to queue in, and you just walk into a kind of a smoky filled cavern, and boom, you're into the delve. Can you
What do you
imagine this
know?
if I had a PvP side to it though?
Oh yeah. I mean that's kind of what the PvP world like weekly quests are kind of like, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it forces everyone to go into a specific area, and then you kind of guarantee that there's going to be PvP. Oh, I was gonna say this reminded me of a system they had in Mists of Pandaria with
Yeah.
the uh gosh, the Thunder Raid. I don't whatever it was called. Throne of Thunder?
Throne of
Is
Thunder,
that
yeah.
yeah, I remember you could go and do this like instance where you could like try to get to the end and collect like a thing of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, I don't remember what it was called, and I don't remember exactly what it did. I think it just gave you gold. But it kind of reminded me of that a lot. And I
Yeah.
think this is definitely something that at least the casual players have been asking for, right? Is there's sort of this missing part of WoW where you can either do instance group content or you can't. And so I think this provides sort of that in between. It's like you can get the satisfaction of completing a dungeon without needing to group with other people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of speaks to how the game has evolved in general, where more things are becoming solo features, features for solo players.
Yeah.
Um,
And
which,
I think
I,
it's good. I think it's good though.
yeah,
Like there's I know like in my guild, there's a player who has joined the guild who plays like super late hours. Like there's hardly anybody on when they play. So their ability to do things like dungeon running or raids or something like that, mind you, they're able to do all right because of LFG. But this would just be one other thing that they could do if they didn't want to sit in a queue for 30 minutes or something like that.
yeah, and I think this has been a hard pill for me to swallow, and I think a lot of people have had a difficult time sort of accepting this, but we need to accept the fact that that games in general are more solo than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll continue to kind of gravitate towards solo play. As much as I'd like for there to be a robust and active 3v3 bracket or RBG bracket, I think those days are just kind of a bit behind us.
Yeah.
Um, and I know people have been critical of Solo Shuffle, and I understand the criticism, but I just think it's one of those changes that is just inevitable and kind of reflects the changing landscape of the WoW player base, where you have now a lot of people who are completely content playing with them. They're playing by themselves, because we've all kind of grown up and now we have responsibilities and
Yep.
we don't necessarily have time to find a group of players to play with all the time.
Nope.
And so we need these new systems to sort of still enjoy the game at our own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's the delves are definitely a part of that solo ecosystem for sure.
Indeed. And let's be honest though, that's been creeping into the game ever since really since the LFG system and then the LFR system were implemented, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always been there. It's just been slowly creeping in. So this is just yet another system, another way for people to enjoy. And I think this is their response to likely one of their surveys where it came to light just how many people just like to do outdoor content, that they don't want to do instances. They don't want to have to run, a regular dungeon, then a heroic dungeon, then a mythic zero, then a mythic keystone. They don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
um, I think I'm with Jake. What Do you think we needed
Yes.
another? Do you think we need another dwarf race?
Yes, of course.
Really though? Really?
What silly question is that?
Another dwarf race? I don't know. Okay. Uh, both of I have my idea. I feel like their racial is going to be just something else similar to Stoneform, but I think that'd be too easy because they're earthen. So
I think it's going to be stone form on like crack, literally.
really,
Well, it's the earthen, right? That's what the new race is, the earthen
yeah,
dwarves.
they're earthen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I think according to the lore, right, the dwarves were the first sort of humanoids created by the Titans, right? Like
Yep.
they were the first, creatures to get life. So maybe it's going to be something. And I know this whole series of expansions seems to be centered around the Titans. So maybe it's going to be some sort of Titanic type racial, whatever that would be. Maybe some glowy, you know, heavenly thing. Who knows? It could be that.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel I have a fear that it's either going to be like something that's cool but ends up having some overpoweredness in PvP, or out of fear, just like all the other allied races, how they've really not done well, is going to be really, really lame. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think they learned already, like between Stoneform and then the what's the Fire Dwarf one again? I always forget it now.
Fireblood, I think, or something.
Yeah, the Fireblood, yeah, which is just like a jacked up version. I feel like they're going to do something like maybe they can use, because these things have gems on them and everything. So maybe they'll do something like a reflection or something like that.
That'd be
I don't
interesting.
know.
Yeah, well, with racials, I mean, geez, in competitive WoW, PvP and Mythic Plus, it's like for the past, like in PvP, basically for the past 10 plus years, it's basically been like 4 races that have been good, and for Mythic Plus, it's like 2.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat those racials for sure. So I don't know if it's even possible to make something better than, for instance, the orc racial passive, right? I mean, that thing's just been insane since its inception. Or even the human racial. The human racial has gone through a bunch of different iterations, and that seems to have stood the test of time. And right now, like Night Elf, a lot of PvPers seem to like Night Elf, which I think is really interesting. Like, why now do they seem to like it? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. Well, I think it was good before. I think people just preferred that feeling of power where with like the human, where you just had that other trinket, right? You didn't have the red
Yeah.
medallion.
Do you know what I think is so funny?
Mm-mm.
Is how for Red Paladin that Tauren seems to be the best race in the last 2 expansions,
Yeah.
and just because like Ret Paladins can do enough damage that they can war stomp and kill you. Like, isn't that really funny? They just the ratio that's just like a 2-second lousy stun is just good on Ret Paladin because you can one shot someone in it. But
Well, between that and Hodge, yeah, I could.
yeah,
Like, yeah, that's actually really funny. Which is funny. Like, I mean, Blood Elf with their Arcane Torrent used to be absolutely amazing for that same reason.
Rest in
Right?
peace, Arcane Torrent. That I'm so bummed that they changed it to a dispel. Oh, I used to love the Blood Elf racial. Now I don't care. Like I would play Blood Elf right now on every single, well, maybe not my druid, but I would play it on like Rogue if I could. It's just so fun.
Yep.
But they gutted that thing. Poor Blood Elves.
It's funny how they got rid of that because that micro stun was just too much. It was too much power. This AOE micro stun, so they got rid of it, and then they added in how many micro stuns since then?
Yeah, well, it was a silence. It was a silence.
Silence. Yeah, it wasn't a stun. Sorry.
Which made it fun because
Mhm.
they removed blanket silence from warlocks and mages, and it was just a nice little thing you could do to like land a polymorph. You can just blink on top of healer Nova, Blood Elf racial them. They can't stop your CC. Just these tiny little interactions were really fun to play with. And now I don't think anyone cares about Blood Elf whatsoever.
Nah,
Um,
it's
Go ahead.
not the ideal, is it?
No.
That I mean, you still have that silence in Wrath, and
Yeah.
it's perfect. It's
Yeah.
really good. A lot of paladins are. I mean, it basically is. It was like the paladin kick, pretty much.
Yeah.
Nowadays people can kick you, healers. Like you can stand on top of them and you get kicked. It's like you got to fake 3 different people. It's really annoying, but it's a shame.
I thought I saw some people playing Belf a little while ago in competitive. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Some people play Void Elf.
Oh,
I
yeah.
s- It's weird. There's a lot I mean, people. It seems like now people are more open to experimenting because a lot of people are playing Volpera.
Mhm.
Oddly enough, um, I mean, I think I've seen a few High Mountain Taurens, which even I know Venruki has been playing a Koltiran mage named Babushka, and that's a funny racial too. I like the goofy racials. I think more people should just play them. Say like screw it. I
Yeah.
mean, people I think get hooked on optimizing their character, doing min maxing. But what's cooler than punching someone across the map? And I mean nothing, right? That's what that's a cool racial.
Yep. Especially when you have the Z axis, it does an amazing wonder on BG maps. Like it's
Oh
just
yeah,
all right. So I think obviously we have no idea what the racial is going to be for the Earthen, but I don't know. I I actually hope that whatever they give it has at least some power in PvP, because some of these other racials that we've already seen, some of the other allied races, I feel while they're great for other aesthetics and for lore reasons and whatever else, you're just not seeing them really in PvP because their racials are useless, right? So,
Mm.
yeah.
I think something else that was found to be useless, which I'm actually quite excited for, uh, the vault changes. So, are you guys gonna miss clicking on the vault every week to see what piece of PvP gear you didn't get?
I'm not. I think that's a fantastic change, and I think it's great. But also at the same time, like I do want things just to be easier for us to get the gear. Like I wish people could grind it out, but I don't want it to be too fast. Like I think restricting people to a certain degree means that you don't have sort of no lifers getting fully geared in one day. And then the next day, if you haven't just done that, like that happened at one point. I remember that happened in Shadowlands, and we had a day where everyone, like I can't remember when it was, whether it was season 3 or 4. It was definitely one of I think it might have been season 3, because that was the moment that just made me switch off and just move totally away from Shadowlands. Was that I was at work one day and they made it so that you could literally grind absolutely everything out in like literally one day. 3 hours, you're done, you're fully geared. And I remember going from sort of, okay, yeah, I could fight these people on an equal footing, to just being completely and totally outclassed in gear by people. You just queue into people, and it became 9 million times harder. I was like, this is just not fun. So I hope there's still lots and ways for us to get gear, but there is that is always a worry for me personally.
Indeed, myself as well. Uh, I am equally worried that I feel that we're still going to have conquest caps, at least initially, to not have that happen. Um, yeah, sir. Just confirming in chat, it was season 4, not season 3. But yeah, um, I expect that there'll still be conquest caps. I expect that it'll probably be higher. I just don't know if we're going to be able to earn 2 pieces of gear worth of conquest each week, or if it's going to be like 1.75 or something like that. What do you think, Big?
Yeah. I mean, it would make sense to raise the conquest cap if they're removing the vault. I mean, that
Mhm.
seems to be the logical solution. It seems like in previous seasons, week 3 was the week you could get the weapon, or
Mhm.
maybe it was week 2. I mean, I don't remember. Um, I mean, unpopular opinion maybe. I didn't mind the vault so much. You know, I understand it was kind of frustrating to deal with, but it was one of those systems. I mean, it's like gambling, right? When it when it works and it's in your favor, you love it. But the moment it's not, it's terrible. So you know, just like gambling, I mean, I wouldn't suggest that as a lifestyle. Um, so I can understand why they would remove it. And yeah, I mean, raising the conquest cap makes sense. Obviously, that season 4 of Shadowlands, I didn't play that season because of them removing the conquest cap. I remember I wasn't really interested in the game at the time, and then I was like, okay, season started, I'm not really gonna play, and I missed like 2 weeks, and then I, logged back on, saw that everyone had full gear, and I was like, okay, never mind. Like,
Nope.
yeah, I guess this is gonna like no, it sucks too because like no one's gonna want to play with you. That's the worst part
No.
about being under geared is no one wants to play with you. It's not that you don't want to play; no one wants to play with you.
Yeah.
So that part really sucked.
You're a risk to their CR. So
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Um. So yeah, I think Conquest Cap definitely a good thing for the game. So Vault mixed feelings for sure.
all right. Which do you guys think they're going to keep the same gearing structure? Do you think it's going to copy and paste and carry over, or do you think they're going to do another iteration and tweak it somehow?
Good question. I think the thing that might change is the crafting system. If anything changes, that would be what I would expect. But I honestly like the crafting system.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, I think it was a good experiment, and I think I would like that to continue in the next expansion for sure. I think the way PvP gearing works right now is as close to perfect as it can possibly be without there straight up being a vendor that just sells you everything for free. That would be my perfect system, and we've talked about this in the past. That's never going to happen, but in the grand scheme, in the bigger scheme of WoW being an MMO, I think the way that PvP gearing currently works is flawless. I like that World PvP gear even has some value. It seems like crafting gear has surpassed World PvP gear in terms of value. Now that you can, because I think earlier in this expansion you could only equip 2 crafted pieces. You were just limited on you just had your embellishments, but now it's like you can have as many crafted pieces as you want. And once they sort of, you know, open that box, that Pandora's box, I mean, gearing has been. I mean, maybe that's what I would change. I kind of liked it when you didn't have to craft every single slot, or when you could mix World PvP gear with Conquest gear with crafted gear. I think that was the best system. I think now that you can craft your best in slot, I mean, I don't mind it, but for the beginning of expansion, I don't like that for sure, because you're kind of limited on resources.
It's interesting, and maybe that's what they'll do. Is like for season 1, it'll be just conquest gear, world PvP gear, and crafted gear. I want to say in season 1 because we couldn't make give the PvP item level to the crafted gear. I feel like we were only like players only restricted themselves to just doing the 2 embellishment that you could only carry, because any other crafted gear couldn't come up to the mark that was full conquest, right?
Yeah.
I did like the idea that there was that mix match that you would have between the world PvP gear and the conquest gear for your stat ratios. That the world PvP gear was that offset to give you the stats you really wanted. So it wasn't like, okay, you can wear all like any sort of combination of stats of conquest gear. Like, why would you even look at world PvP gear, except for maybe the set bonus, even then, which wasn't, I'd say, that spectacular, especially when you consider the item level reduction of about three item levels per piece. So I mean, you're what, 36 item levels below somebody wearing full conquest.
To me, the fascinating part about them removing the restriction on crafted gear was how it made certain specs more viable. I'll give you a really good example. Holy Priest and Disc Priest last season. I wholeheartedly believe, I mean, Disc was definitely struggling last season. Holy was in a pretty good spot, but Holy would have been in a significantly worse spot if it wasn't for that crafting system. Because what you started doing on Holy Priest is you just dropped all your versatility for maximum haste and mastery, and that was basically the only way you could heal an arena. You had to drop all your verse and just have tons of other secondary stats. And Disc was the same way, and even Resto Druid was the same way. So you had 3 healers, 3 specs that were pretty much made either more viable, or the only reason why they were viable was because you could craft gear with the optimal stats. So that's just one kind of consideration that I would have, like, going into the future, is some classes just kind of suck with conquest gear. And that's definitely a problem that's, I think, worth addressing. Some healers like Resto Shamans can kind of get away with it because maybe they're going to get attacked more, so they need that extra versatility. But if you're a Resto Druid, you don't need that extra versatility because you don't really get attacked. So, I mean, that's just kind of maybe that's why they kind of uncap things, or they remove that restriction, is because they realize, well, some specs are benefiting more from conquest gear than others.
I want to be clear here. I think the nuance there was in season 1, because there was the PvP crafted gear. I think the only cap to wearing crafted items was only the embellishment cap. And I can't say that they removed that for season 2. I don't think they've ever removed that. You're still only restricted to 2 embellishments. But I think that the conquest trophies that allow you to add PvP item level to pretty much any crafted item, embellishment or not, is what really helps. It really helps people greatly fine tune that difference. Because again, like, why would you go and pay thousands of gold to have a piece of PvE item crafted if it doesn't even come close to what the conquest item level is of a piece of PvP gear? But because that trophy exists, it's so much better. But
Right.
All right. Well, I do agree. I think so yes, the slot machine is always fun. I don't think it actually ever belonged in any sort of a deterministic gearing system that PvP gearing is. So I'm happy that it's gone. And I can imagine that a lot of people are happy that it's now world quest based, so doing world stuff such as the delves, or I really don't know what else they're going to add in. I'm assuming it's probably like, doing so many world quests will also give you a slot. I'm sure if I actually looked at the graphic, it would show me, but I'm not looking deeply into it anyway. But I do think that is an excellent addition for people out there that don't want to PvP, don't want to do, maybe do LFR, but whatever, but don't want to like push hard. So that's a pretty cool thing. I'm trying to think what else there is that really stood out this year. So rolling through quickly their deep dive. So we already talked about the delves, talked about the Great Vault, talked about the warbands.
New Battleground.
Oh yeah, new Battleground. What do you think? You tell us about that, Big.
I mean, I don't know much about it. I just saw a picture. I saw a picture with a bunch of squiggly lines. That's. I mean, you guys probably know more than me. To be honest, I have no idea what to say. Is it capture the flag? I wasn't really clear.
If I recall correctly, so it's supposed to be a mixture of, it's like a hybrid. So I believe it's an escort where it's going to be like Silver Shard mines with the carts that you have to escort.
Like Overwatch. It looks kind of like an Overwatch map.
Yeah. Now, from the looks of it, there's a crystal in the middle, which looks like it's going to be a pillar. You have carts that come out from either side, Horde and Alliance. They cross either side of the crystal, so they're like always going kitty corner, and then they'll zig off to go to the opposite side of the map to the other person's starting area. So to me it looks like, so obviously you it's going to be king of the hill, where if you just like Silver Shard Mines, you sit inside the cart, you own the cart, you're getting points as the tick away for the period of time that you own it, and then you'll probably get bonus points when you capture it at the end when it gets to the cavern mouth there. And then I'm assuming that you can probably like I'm not sure if you get points if you kill people inside the ring, or if killing people means that it ticks faster over to your side for the capture of the king of the hill side of owning the cart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
The one thing I'm not sure of, and I really, it's something that I really enjoyed in originally with the Deepwind Gorge, is being able to capture the opponent's resources and take them to your own pod.
Oh. Well, I mean, this is the first BG, right? In 6 years, apparently.
10.
10. That's crazy.
They haven't, the last BG they added was Seething Shore.
And they removed that as well, I'd like to add.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but yeah. Just saying.
It's still valid for randoms. You just can't play it in the rated pool.
Yeah, but it's
That's funny that it's been out of the game for that long and rated. It must have been a serious problem. It's like
no, they only just removed it, like in Shadowlands, I think, or beginning of Dragonflight. Like Seething Shore hasn't been out of the rated pool for a while, for very long. It's been pretty recent. Oh yeah, and Mortai, the Strands of the Ancient, they removed that back in BFA. That's right. But yeah, so they haven't. Seething Shores was the last BG that they added as a brand new BG. After that, everything else was redos, where they remade Warsong Gulch, they remade Arathi Basin, and they remade Deepwind Gorge.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
I'm waiting for the Ring of Valor remake. That's
you just want to see the world burn.
I like that map. That was a good map.
Oh, no, wrong. I thought it was pretty interesting. It had a lot going on though. Like, holy cognitive overload. Especially doing 5v5. Holy moly.
Oh jeez.
Right. All right. So new BG. That's pretty awesome. Jake, did you have any takes on the new BG?
Just only that it seems cool. I just think it's going to be one of the cases of let's kind of see how things go with this. That's how I always feel. You just got to see how things go, because you just never know how things are until you play them, especially in RPGs. Like, you just don't know. Like, I thought when I first played Seething Shore, I remember thinking that was kind of interesting. But again, I've had so many people, because I did a lot of RPGs and sort of BFA and really the beginning of Shadowlands, and there were people that were just so disgusting on those maps, especially because they start accusing you of cheating. So if it doesn't work out, then it just becomes another problem, another nail in the coffin for RPG. So I'm really hoping that there's some good design here, and it's some design that's thought about from a competitive point of view, because it's a real shame.
What I will say I like about this map is it seems to be like a straight line. I don't like maps where people are kind of all around, here and there. I like when sort of all the action kind of converges in one place. I've always been a big fan of Warsong Gulch, because it's like, well, of course the map kind of gets split up a little bit, but for the most part, all the action's always happening in one central location. And I have kind of high hopes for this map to do the same thing. I'm not a fan of like Arathi Basin, for instance. It's too much going on. But yeah,
I find that interesting. I find that interesting. What about Eye of the Storm then?
Not a fan of Eye of the Storm either. I've always just preferred maps where there's kind of one task, one thing to do.
Fair enough.
You know,
fair enough.
capture the flag.
Mhm.
Easy. I do
Interesting.
like a Silver Shard. I enjoy Silver Shard though, but that's
Okay.
like three areas, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Usually you focus on one and then the other two because they stagger, so you
Yeah.
can usually come back and capture another one. So yeah, I see that. I see how you're going there. And yeah, in case anybody was wondering, no, we're not waiting another 10 years. Supposedly, Ian did admit that battlegrounds are actually important to the game, and they're going to be doing more. I feel that this is a this ramp up of PvP information and the PvP maps and stuff like that is a direct result to the new positions that have shown up at Blizzard a few years ago. So now there's actual PvP dev. So I think this is part of what's coming out of that. And then there was the PvP map map lead. So I don't know if anybody actually got hired into that or not, but either way, I think this might be part of the outcome for that. So one other thing, I think this one's pretty big for PvP, the hero talents. So what do you guys think about another, yet another talent string that being added to the game?
I mean, to me, it just sounded like Covenant's version 2. I mean, yeah, I think people are, I don't know. I mean, cool, but to me, it's like, yeah, it's just another button that's gonna be on your bars, and you press it every now and then, just like Covenants. It's kind of cool that it seems to be tailored for each spec. So that's, or each class, so that's cool.
Actually,
But yeah,
expect, yeah.
It just honestly reminds me kind of Covenants, another button, another tree. Okay, we've seen this before. Now it's slightly more unique, but not like, ooh, I'm so excited. It's like, okay, I pressed Fleshcraft before. I know what it feels like,
Well, so I think the question was because he was saying evergreen systems a lot, and I believe this one was meant to be an evergreen system as well. So I feel unlike Covenants, unlike Artifact Weapons, unlike Azerite, the Heart of Azeroth, unlike any of these other borrowed power systems, this is going to be yet another thing that's going to be part
changing.
of our. Pardon me?
Evergreen means it changes, right? It's not going to stay static the whole time. Is that what evergreen means?
Evergreens means it sticks around.
So okay.
Right. So, and like obviously like no different than the talent trees, right? Like where we see the same talent tree moving from Dragonflight into the War Within. There'll probably be some changes on it though, but the system itself moves through. It doesn't like, okay, end of X pack, that gets thrown in the garbage, and then it's called something else. It's
Yeah.
It goes from Azerite power to artifact power or something like that.
Right.
I think so. My concern, and looking into this, I think it's really cool. I think it offers some neat choice nodes. Because the idea being is it's not just one thing for each spec, but it allows for hybridity between two different specs, so it allows for that little bit stronger crossover.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is that when we go into our starting areas for instance contact, instanced, any of the instance content, PVE or PvP, you're in that starting zone. You have like a minute, right?
Yeah.
So case in point, like be it, especially in PvP now, 2s, 3s, RBGs, you're gonna sit in there, you're gonna see what the other opponents are, and now you have a minute or less, depending on which content you are, to reset your UI to make sure you don't have any bugs, and then readjust and readjust any of your talent points that you need to adjust to meet what the expectation the opponent's going to have. So there's just going to be another bunch of buttons you're going to have to move around. And I feel like it's going to be like, for somebody who's still learning the game or trying to get better, like this is going to be a lot of stuff happening right at the very beginning that can greatly impact how good the gameplay or how your gameplay is. And I'm kind of concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've made enough improvements to the talent system in Dragonflight that, if you need to change talents now, it's easier than before. I mean, yeah, I understand that it's kind of like decision overload, but I mean, I wouldn't be personally, and I don't mean to say you're wrong that, there's kind of this feeling that you have to change too much, but I mean, typically, how much are you actually changing? It's usually maybe 1 or 2 talents, a PvP talents, like 3 things, and sometimes you don't even have to change anything at all. Like, I'm a big advocate, and maybe it's just because I'm lazy, but I try to design my build to just be good all the time, so I don't really have to change much. So I think that's, one solution is just try to find a one-size-fits-all build. PvP talents seem to be the thing that changed the most, if I'm being honest. I'm not really touching my talent tree that much. I probably should, but I don't. It's usually just PvP talents, and I'm guessing that sort of trend is going to continue moving forward. I would highly doubt there's going to be much you can change in the new hero talent system, just like the Covenant. Remember the Covenant trees? I mean, you didn't change anything in them. Well, actually, you could, right?
Yeah.
But I think you couldn't change them in Arena. I don't remember if you could change your Covenant talent tree in Arena. I don't think you could.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, so maybe it's
yeah.
Maybe it's gonna be one of those things you can't change in Arena, which would be nice, I guess.
I thought I remember Ian saying that was going to be adjustable in starting areas and that. We'll see. Yeah, but I think you're right. Like I'm just really concerned about decision overload. Like there's some people where if there's too many decisions, they freeze and it becomes too much to deal with. And then yeah. Okay. Jake, are you worried about decision overload?
Well, I'm, to be honest with you, more worried about not having the ability to change everything. Like, I'm actually kind of on the opposite sort of camp to you, Gareth. Like, I think for me, I actually think being able to change everything is good. And the reason why is because I remember being in Shadowlands thinking, God, I wish I could just change some things up in my stupid thingy tree, whatever it was called. I can't remember. And it was really annoying that I couldn't, or I think I could swap to different people and that you could change that depending on what you're going into, and you could sort of have a sort of setup there. But I wasn't able to really change anything that I wanted to change when it was really important to do so, especially on some specs. And I liked the idea that I could, if I wanted to, change things. And I think that's important, especially for the modern PvP. We see what we're up against. We're able to pick and choose and kind of determine how we play. There's so much APM in the game that you need to be in your ideal setup so that you can, do the best that possible. I think in the older version of the game where the pace is slower and you've got a bit more time, it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, you're using the same setup each time. Yeah, you could change it if you wanted to, whether you're doing 2s or 3s, but most of the time you're playing the same setup. That is the setup. Those are the talents that you've decided, and that's kind of how it's going to be. That works for the older game. But for the new game where the pace is fast, you need to be able to swap. You need to make slight adjustments if you need to, knowing, kind of understanding what you're going into. Are you playing AoE spec because it's double melee, or are you kind of going a more single target build? Like there are so many versions of that you're able to do. And because obviously Dragonflight talents are fantastic, you're able to do that. And I really want to make sure that is maintained rather than being static.
Yeah. No, sorry. Don't get me wrong. Like I like change. I like being able to adjust things like that on the fly. That's not what I was saying. I just feel that now in the starting zone, you're going to be like, okay, left side talent tree. Do I need to change anything? I'm up against big favorite, RMP. Do I need to change on? Do I need to change on the right side? Do I need to change on my PvP talents? Do I need to change my heroic talents? Do I want to wear, like, what do I want to wear for trinkets? Do I, do I want to
Yeah,
wear the
and
stat trinket or do I want to wear the health trinket? Do I want to like, oh shoot, the gates are
Well,
opening. Crap.
yeah, the problem you're describing is actually, I think, a legitimate issue in solo shuffle in the in between rounds where it's 20 seconds, I think.
Yep.
Like the first starting area is a minute, but then each following one is 20 seconds. That's where I always forget to change things there. Like, and then I realize like when the gates open, it's like, oh shoot, I don't have thorns or something, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Have you ever
But
died
I mean,
without thorns though? Have you died without it?
no, but I mean, sometimes PvP talents can have an impact, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just yeah, for sure. More systems are going to be an issue, specifically in solo shuffle for changing those talents in between the rounds.
Okay. I think we all have like some different aspects to that, but I think I'm actually curious, listeners. I'm throwing this out to you. New heroic talents. Is this going to be an issue for you making those choices, and also things like button bloat and that, like add in a few more buttons? Is that going to make and break your UI? Is that you have to make like another 20 macros in order, to make that work? How do you feel about it? I'm really, really curious how everybody feels about that, because I think it might be something that they're not thinking of, or like maybe all they need to do is just adjust the starting zone. So like in solo shuffle, it's 30 seconds instead of 20 seconds or something like that. I don't know. Really interested to hear what people think about that. Let's hear what else. So there's a bunch of interviews. I think we covered a lot of stuff. I think it's been encapsulated throughout our conversation already. I don't know. Is there anything? I don't know. Is there anything that really jumped out at you guys out of the rest of the stuff for the War Within that you think we haven't talked about?
I think it's important to talk about the fact that it's not just the War Within. It's Midnight and the Last Titan as well. They are a 3. And I think Blizzard wouldn't announce the 3 in a row if there wasn't going to be a similar theme between the 3 of them. And obviously that might just be story.
Yeah,
They might just be thinking macro, but aren't they meant to be quicker?
I
And
think
then,
it's.
you know,
I think from what I heard based on an interview is they're trying to make it like sort of the Marvel universe almost, where it's this continuous story, just like the Marvel movies kind of weave together. I mean, I've never watched any Marvel movies, but I know that they kind of all converge, right? And Endgame or whatever was when all the Marvel movies kind of individually converge. It kind of sounds like that's what's happening, and it sounds like the idea is that instead of expansions are usually 2 years pretty much, instead of like 2 year long expansions, maybe they're going to be a year long, or maybe a year and a couple of months, which I'm totally down for. I love the idea of having quicker expansion releases, just because like we're going to have this next patch for another year apparently, which is crazy to think about. And I know there's gonna be like the game is gonna be active right now, probably for the next 3 months, but then there's gonna be this 9 month period where it's going to be very dead. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Like,
So
what was it?
So I want to jump in here. So a couple things. They talked already that they are liking the patch, the pace of patching and the pace of content that DF had. So my understanding is that the War Within and Beyond is going to have that same cycle of weeks and months between content, including the .5s and the .7s. This patch here that we're kind of jumping ahead. I was going to mention this in 10.2, but they're talking that the season 3 is starting next week. There's going to be a season 4. So they're adding in another one of the season 4s, just like they did in Shadowlands. It's not going to be a full patch, but it's going to be like the faded raids and that kind of fun stuff. And that's going to carry on into the tail end of Dragonflight as they start to build into the story and development cycle, and then pump out the content for the War Within.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
does that mean that it's going to be a 1.5 year long patch instead of a 2 year patch? Possibly. I mean, we don't know what faster is. I mean, let's be honest. They talked about they wanted to do faster content, three patches in a row, and look at what we had for Mr. Pandaria and Warlords Draenor, and it wasn't until like just recently with the Legion. Legion was a misnomer because for us it was, for PvPers, it felt really fast because we had micro seasons between the patches. Which I thought was really awesome. But then Shadowlands, I think, had a really good pacing for patching and for content. The Dragonflight, I felt almost like it was a little too fast. Like I'm almost weary from all of the rep and the currency grinds. If you want to just do PvP, I think it's great. But if you're doing any PvE stuff, I feel like it was too much.
yeah. I mean, I personally thought that Dragonflight has had really good pacing of the seasons. I'll link in chat the patch lengths of previous expansions.
Okay.
I mean, you can see Mists of Pandaria, the 5.4 patch was over a year long, 399 days of the same season. Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
And I think Shadowlands and Dragonflight are kind of having a similar, have had a similar cadence so far, and I mean, I like that, especially for someone who produces content that changes patch to patch. It's nice to have everything kind of be predictable.
Big, I gotta call you out on this. Like the last how many months of podcasting, you've been talking about how it's been a struggle to keep up to the changes. You get a tier list done and it changes.
Okay, that's different than the season. So those are hot fixes. Like the hot fixes this expansion have been insane. Like that's just like the pace they're changing the game every week is insane. But I mean, just like the bigger changes,
fair, yeah,
are coming in these sort of more predictable waves, which has been quite nice.
Yes, yeah, like 200x days each time is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Straight off the presses, thanks to chat. Apparently, they're saying that all 3 expansions are set to end before 2023. So that's 6 years.
Okay.
If War Within comes out in 2024, it is 6 years or less for the 3. So that's, so that means it's gonna, it's gonna end. Oh yeah, so that's like a 1.5 years each patch or each expansion. Really?
Which I think is a good length for an expansion.
Yeah. Oh, Jake, you've been quiet. Do you think that's a good patch?
Yeah.
length?
No, I'm quiet because I'm just thinking about how all of this is gonna just be so weird for us, having spent the last 4 years, 5 years maybe, with expansions that last. We are in Dragonflight for a period of time, a long period of time. Although saying that, Shadowlands came out 2020? And it's only 2023 and we're almost at the end of Dragonflight. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it has 2 years is sort of the general theme. It just I guess it felt like BFA and Shadowlands felt like forever. Maybe the realistic situation is that it's this will be an improvement, I think, but it's not. But it's going to be a difficult one, and I think we're going to just have to get used to the way that it's going to move. Will it be better? I think we've all been asking for something quicker seasons. Like I feel like that's been the case in Wrath. Like Wrath feels like the seasons have gone by very quickly, which can be disconcerting if you've got life and real life and you're kind of coming back home. You've only got a short period of time and everyone else has got all hours and hours to queue. But you're coming in, it feels a bit like it's disappearing, it's fleeting. But at the same time, do genuinely feel like this is going to be a good step forward for PvP.
All right. So if they do make the cadence faster between expansions to a year and a half, and then therefore seasons are going to be, well, assuming we only do 3 seasons, so that means 6 months per season. Am I counting that out right? Yeah, that counts out right.
Yeah.
So that's 6 months for a season. That seems like really long seasons. I thought seasons were like 3.5 months.
No. Well, I mean, like for instance, Shadowlands Season 3 was 245 days. That's almost, what's 240 divided by like 30? Let me see. Let me bust out my calculator here. 240 divided by 30, 8 months. So seasons seem to typically be around 8 months right now. So if they're cutting that down to 6, I think that's nice. And plus, like, people really stop playing. Like once people get their full gear or whatever, and then once they have that 2-week announcement, like that in between period between getting full gear and that 2-week announcement, that seems when most people dip out of Arena. And so if that gap is shorter, I mean, that's all the merrier to me. I think that's the problem that needs to be solved, is how do you keep people playing Arena when, one, they don't need gear, and two, they don't care about titles. You know, that's the tricky bit that I think is the big question.
It sounds like you're repeating a Twitter conversation I was having earlier this week.
Good.
Yeah, there's a conversation trying to discuss about how to keep people playing after 2400 up to the 1%, and how do you keep people into the game for that? Because although right up to the end of the season, queues were popping like in the higher those real high bracket spots, but there was a major gap there between 2400 and 2900 where apparently queues were just dead because there was nobody there, because nobody wanted to play. Once you got 2400, you stopped. I don't know how many people I've talked to where it's like, they get their 1600, they get their 1800, they get maybe 2K, 2100, all these little breakpoints wherever that's their goal point, 2400. If that was their goal point, they get to there and they stop. Right? They get their glad mount and they stop. And that's so. It seems like it takes a certain personality of a person to push past 2400 to try to get to rank 1. And
yeah, you have to really care. I think.
Yes. Yeah. All right. I think that pretty much covers all of the War Within stuff that we were made aware of so far, along with our own personal points of view. Now on to 10.2. 10.2 launched today. Season 3 launches next reset. Actually, yes. Sorry, it launched today for Jake. It launched yesterday for me and Big. Did either of you guys get a chance to dip your toes into the new patch and play around?
No, I mean, there's no honor gear yet. Actually, I haven't had a chance to really do much, but just because the fact that there's no honor gear makes me kind of a little bit disconcerted. I feel like they should have implemented that so we could have just got our honor gear and then just did arenas to grind everything. But just feels a bit weird, really, more than anything.
Okay. Did you do any? Did you try doing any world PvP?
Well, admittedly, I've only had an hour really to do anything today, so I haven't tried it. I haven't done any yet, but I'm hoping that I will have the opportunity to.
Okay. What about you, Big?
I logged in and I vendored the stuff that became vendorable. All the little. That's what I did, and then I felt happy and I logged off. But I'll probably play more this weekend or later this week. I've just been a bit busy.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I hear you. I logged in briefly last night once the servers came up. Took a look at the vendors, saw that they have the honor token, the BOA honor token there.
Yeah.
Saw that they had the Trophy of Strife on sale for honor points through the honor vendor, but it has a caveat where you have to be behind the curve. So if you're behind the gear curve, excuse me, if you're behind the gear curve, then you can purchase it. So I'm not sure what that means, but there's that. And the new World PvP gear was available, and as soon as I saw that, I went out to go and see there's the World PvP quest for some gear for a pair of pants for me, and it was the dragon out in the Waking Shores, and that place was popping. I showed up there, and my spy, like, I've been flying around and doing stuff, and I might have like one or two show up on my spy, and that thing loaded up and max filled the UI bar for that immediately with how many people were over there playing around. So really happy. I know in one of in the Epic BG community that I'm in, they were grouping up and doing World PvP, both in the World Quest and also heading out to the new zone and just running around and killing people for bloody tokens in attempts to try to gear out that way as well, just to get that little that edge up in this 1 week.
Nice.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about, we're kind of running a little bit on the tail end of the show, is the season of the Discovery. That is definitely an interesting game mode that I got the chance to demo it, and it was really interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught what the season of Discovery is, and I guess for the stream I'll just explain it. It's basically, well, it's meant to be Classic Plus. I think people are a bit disappointed that this is what Classic Plus is going to be, but it seems like it's going to be a seasonal game where the first season is going to have a level cap of 25, and it's basically the engine of Classic WoW with some significant differences. The main difference is that, well, one, the level cap is 25, but then your character, aside from having a talent tree, has runes, which are kind of like PvP talents. It's like a mixture of PvP talents and enchants. They're like PvP talents that you put on your gear and they give you spells. Like, for instance, you can play Druid in Classic and have Life Bloom and Lacerate, or whatever. You can have Metamorphosis as a Warlock, and you can be a tank. Like the raid that they had to demo at BlizzCon, our tank in the group was a Warlock.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that raid was no joke, by the way. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. Here I am, rank 1 gladiator Big Moran, walking up to the PC. He's like, okay, guys, let's smash the BFD dungeon together. I crushed this when I was 12 years old. It's gonna be no joke. That dungeon was hard. That was like a mythic raid. We wiped. You have no idea how embarrassing it is to full wipe in a 10-man group to a turtle. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy hard. So
That's awesome.
I think, yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun to play Classic WoW with like all these extra abilities. I know there's that private server or whatever called this Project Ascension, I think it was, where there wasn't any classes. You could just have any spell in the game you want. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that. It was just kind of like a little nod to that almost. So I thought it was really fun. I'm looking forward to that. And if there's level 19 twinks, I think that will be really fun in that game mode.
Well, the big thing with that is that big, massive battleground in Ashenvale, I think.
Yeah.
Which sounds amazing.
Yeah, where the zone turns into a battleground.
Yeah, I love that. Like when we first heard that, I was like, whoa, this is insane. I love this. Like, I love that idea because it just has so much potential. And I think there is a lot to be had and a lot of fun to be had when we when you go in there and you play classic with all these different extra runes and stuff like that. It's just going to be really interesting. People are going to have a lot of fun. I think it's just, this is the direction that classic needed to go. They needed a classic server that just went and did that sort of Ascension style of extra bits and pieces. You can kind of play multiple different ways. It was the only way that it was going to be able to go. Like, it needed to innovate. And then, like, in my opinion, they should do innovative classic plus things. They should keep doing with the kind of classic sort of, your classic Wrath of the Lich King, classic Cat classic, mop, etc., and then come back and do a whole fresh server of classic, like a proper fresh, and just kind of repeat it like this with these multiple cycles, so people can kind of experience the game in so many different formats. You got hardcore, you got everything. Like, yeah, the community split, but the community will split anyway. The community has been split into private servers before and after. So what's any different than this, other than the fact that all your mates are together in the same place and you can play with them officially, and your kind of stuff stays there? So I think in reality, it's great and it's a good idea, and it just gives people the idea to dip their toes into everything. The only thing Blizzard need to do now is to really culminate on the hype and attention that this gets, and the amount of people that play like hardcore, for example, and really push their esports side of things, whether it's in the retail version or in the old school version of it. They should really be pushing it because they have so much potential there. Like, everything, all of it has so much potential.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this season of Discovery as well. I can't imagine what that's going to look like a level 19 Twink BG with runes. That's just going to be utter mayhem. It's going to be awesome. That's it. I'm pretty sure I confirmed somewhere that BGs are going to be available. So wargaming and probably random BGs are also going to be just happening. I wonder, with the new Ashen Veil thing happening, and with that was confirmed, layering technology is going to be implemented on realms that have high population. So the event is going to trigger across all the layers simultaneously. So there'll be like a little bit delay on starting of that on those realms, and then obviously then there'll probably be a bit of a risk as you run around the zone of maybe hopping realm or hopping layers. But for the most part, they're probably going to do a lot of work to try to solidify that so that it doesn't feel bad. Because nothing's worse than chasing after somebody you're about to kill and then having them hop a layer. That would suck so bad. Anyways,
then that would be the worst, and that's the sort of thing that we'd end up finding. Like, there'd be some guy that's like cheated his way through it, like, so, I'm about to die, hop layer.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it was said interview somewhere. So the intent is that the layering hopping is not going to be advantageous. They're going to do something to stop it from being advantageous. So I don't know how that's going to work. I just remember in BFA, there were some spots where, like, if you're in world PvP and if there's like a world quest going on or something like that, like, you would just like move slightly and you like cross the event horizon into another layer almost, so then people couldn't kill you and you could just like weave back and forth. So I do that as a warlock. I'd dot somebody up and then I'd weave out so then they couldn't hit me, and then I weave. And in the meantime, the dots are taken away on them, and I weave back in and refresh the dots, and then weave back out.
This is quite the significant admission here, Jaroslav. I feel like someone needs to make a post on Twitter and call you out.
It was a clever use of game mechanics. That's what that was.
Yeah, of course it was.
That said, I as well am interested in this, excited, and not just the fact that it's only level 25. It does have legs to it. They're gonna extend the level cap and go from there. So I think it has some good room for it to grow and breathe, which I like. I think one other one you mentioned, hardcore, the self-found. I think that's pretty cool. Be interested to see if OTK uses that for their next Makara tournament, where make people do self-found, so they have to get their way all the way up to 60 all by themselves before they can start getting help from their community. I think that would be pretty cool. I think that's, well, no, sorry. 10.2. Big. And I'm going to call you out on this because you do so much content creation for Skill Capped. There's a number of major reworks here on some classes. Like, there's a bunch of information here. is there any highlights? Like, have you been able to go through all this? Is there anything that you think or that we can highlight here? Just kind of give some Cole's notes as to what these changes are. Like, I'm hearing demon hunters are OPAF. Big? Oh, did we lose Big? We might have lost Big.
We may have lost Big. I have also heard this though.
Yeah,
I've also heard this.
Dragon. Yeah, demon hunters and rogues. Oh, rogue. Yeah, well, yeah, and rogues got a major rework as well. Oh,
can
there
you hear me
is.
now?
There you are. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying I don't know much about the Demon Hunter rework specifically, but I do know for a fact that in Mythic Plus they're expected to be the meta DPS, and I'm assuming there's going to be some crossover into PvP as well. The entire rogue class got a bunch of reworks, some crazy things. I mean, I expect to see Outlaw being maybe the meta spec again, but sub is definitely looking good, and assassination is looking better. So if you didn't like rogues before, oh boy, get ready. Hold on to your butts because rogues are looking good. Warriors got a PvP talent that has been out of the game for a while called Safeguard, and it gives them 2 charges of Intervene, and Intervene applies 20% damage reduction for a few seconds. That's going to be a really good talent choice for them. Balanced Druids got a rework a little bit to make the spec a bit easier. Same with Disc Priest. Disc Priest got a bit of a rework to the Discipline tree, again, to make things a bit more easier and streamlined, and it's looking like they're going to be probably the meta healer as well in both forms of content. Trying to think if there's anything else. I know Demo got some quality of life improvements where there's not as much damage wound up tied into Tyrant anymore. They're kind of redistributing the damage profile. Same thing with Unholy DK, less power in their 3-minute cooldowns and more power in their shorter cooldowns, which is probably a good thing if you're a DK enjoyer. Anything else? Resto Druids got better, so if you're frustrated at Resto Druids being really good last expansion or last season, well, hold on to your butts again because they're going to get even better. Don't really know much about tier sets. I haven't really looked into that, but expect the game to change kind of dramatically in the next 4 weeks when people, when that creation catalyst comes out, whenever that will be. That's when we're probably going to see, the fully fleshed out game. Other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Just a couple things.
Just a couple things, yeah.
Yeah. I thought Catalyst was coming out like week 1.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Chat can check me on that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Catalyst is.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the relative power level of most specs is about the same as it was last patch. Just some things got shuffled, like a few things got shuffled around, which is pretty typical for a season.
Nice. I think like some of it definitely is good. It smooths out some of the rotations and how the feel is. My understanding is Frost DK is still the redheaded stepchild. Is still being ignored. Has low survivability. Has that one shot that is, if you see it coming, you can shut it down really easily. And and otherwise it's still poop.
Yeah, it's just kind of awkward. It's not it's sort of like a sub rogue with a Unholy DK combined, which are kind of like 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, right? They hit you with their damage and then they run away, which doesn't seem like, I know some people enjoy that playstyle, but most people just kind of like to run in and pump damage the whole time, which is what Unholy is better at. Oh, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, everyone, but Augmentation Evoker is still probably going to be the best caster in the game, probably in every form of content. So,
but they said they're going to keep an eye on it and try to tone it down if it's too powerful.
Oh, they did tone it down in the patch, but it's still looking good.
Okay, that's color me shocked. It's
yeah.
Well, I guess will we at least like with the toning down of augmentation will at least reduce the number of times we're going into like 80%, 90% dampening? Like are the games at least going to be faster, or is it still going to be just
Well,
stupid?
the one thing that has changed is PvP trinkets for healers is now 90-second cooldown, down from 2 minutes. That, if anything, has a chance to prolong games longer than normal. I think for a while now that trinket timer has been sort of an integral part to how kills are scored, and now that the kill windows are going to be shorter, that has a chance to make games longer. Plus, everyone's going to be running around with more health and whatnot, and more stats and more versatility. So, yeah, I think maybe the games are going to be.
Oh, I just heard him go
Oh.
robot. No. Uh, I think it's too bad we just lost Big there again. I thought, and there's some conversations. I'm trying to find it in the patch notes, but I know they were looking at changing how healing worked and the healer profiles, but I can't find that exactly. I'm trying to read and listen at the same time, which, trust me, is a bad thing for Jairus to try to do at any time. Um, uh, Jake, did you hear anything? Do you remember hearing anything about how healing was going to work and that they were changing it up?
I don't think I ever got around to seeing that part of it. I just know that there's the trinkets are slightly different for healers,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which
that's
I
what Big
think
was
is
saying. Yeah.
which is this. That's the only thing that I really heard. I think that's going to make a massive difference. It just for me, it seems like they're just trying to control how popular RMP is, and it's just. I mean, it's not working really. I mean, it's not
You never
working.
know.
Like, it's
You
still
never
going to be
know.
really popular. I just think it's just not going to. That's not going to change anything. I think they need to change the pacing of the game in order for healers to feel like they're in a better place. Like nobody wants to feel like they're sort of no one wants to feel like they're super hard pressed in order to actually do anything. I think that's the major reason why. So
I'm
we'll
back.
see. Oh, he's back.
He's back. There you
Were we talking about why no one likes to heal?
go.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think the real reason is you can't really impact the game in the way you would want to. That seems to be the general consensus. Is like, of course, you can heal the damage, you can press your defensive, and that's pretty much it. Like some healers, you can do damage, and that's really fun. Like playing Holy Priest, it's really fun to press your damage.
Mhm.
But if you're not playing Holy Priest, Preservation Evoker, or Fistweaver Monk, I mean, you're not really doing much damage, and it doesn't really feel like you can, especially in solo shuffle, it doesn't feel like you can have any impact on the game offensively. And I think in a solo game mode, you want to have as much influence as you can, and you just can't as a healer. Full stop. So I think that's healing
Those,
itself is the same. Is the same. It's always been like damage is high, whatever you just deal with it. It's just the impact is where the issue is.
so part of and this is the part you missed probably when whatever happened to your internet. I was asking, and I found it is the way they're changing how healing is going to work, where apparently, and this is looking to be on the PvE side, but it looks like it's going to directly relate to PvP, where they're wanting to make mana pools matter more so, and that they reduce the amount of overhealing that's happening. So I feel like, although yes, you're going to be pushing buttons, and yes, you have a 90-second trinket, so that should extend the game in some way. I feel like this is also going to counter that, where games are going to no longer no longer, while CC chains matter and can end games, if you can properly counter the CCs and the goes, it's going to become a mana game, and that's going to probably end games faster than what we were seeing before. if that makes any sense, especially with dampening how it ramps up as well. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, that's kind of nice part about Solo Shuffle. There's no drinking.
Hmm.
So, the game has a definitive end.
Yep.
Dampening in your mana bar, those are two big walls.
Yep. So somebody's gonna die, regardless. I think that pretty much covers it. We can't go into the detail of everything, the depth that we probably want to, only because we'd be here for like 8 hours. So, if anybody hasn't seen, so the World of Warcraft post BlizzCon Q&A, which is going to be a YouTube video that's going to be posted on Friday. I'm not sure if I can call it a stream because I don't think it's being live streamed. I believe it's pre-recorded and is going live as a stream. It's going to be on Friday, so please check that out. That's going to be a curated discussion between community managers and a couple devs, using what people posted on the forums and also what people left at the mailbox at the Dark Moon Fair at BlizzCon. So hopefully there's some PvP stuff there. We'll see. I think that's not it. That's not all. But wait, there's more. What's the one thing you would change, guys?
Oof. Specifically about the next patch. I think that's an important thing to say.
So let's say between 10.2, BlizzCon, and the upcoming expansion.
More lands. That's my answer. I want more lands this year.
Yes.
Full stop. That's it.
Okay. More lands. What about you, Jake?
I am going to say I would like. Oh, it's so hard. One thing you change. Okay. You know what I am going to do? I'm going to say change the pace of the game. I think going into War Within, I want to change the pace of the game in terms of how much APM there is. I want there to be a lack of intensity. I want globals to mean something. I want them to find a nice balance between what beautiful thing they've got with Classic and also the retail expansion. I think, like I don't want to come home and be sort of slamming my keyboard, all the buttons, all the keybinds that I've got at like a million miles an hour, killing people without having to CC them at all. I want there to be quality thought written into, okay, how do we want the game to progress from PvP? Do we want them just to mash buttons and rely on weak auras, or do we want them to actually think about their globals and how they use them? That's what I'd say.
Sounds good. I would like for, and this is because I have a serious concern about this. I would like them to actually provide some more context as to what the faster pacing is going to be, quote unquote. Because I feel like there's a lot of assumptions there, and like people are talking like new expansions every year, stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be the case. You can't really develop a story via video game in that short of time, so I think it's going to be definitely longer. But I feel like I'd like to have that and have them kind of like hold themselves to task. Like if they're going to say it's an 18-month expansion, then hold themselves to the 18-month expansion, not 18 months plus 6 months while they try to get the next one out the door. So, which I think they can do. I think they've already been doing that really well. But I'd like them to actually, and obviously, do it with the caveat of like, of course, this can change, and all that other stuff, so that people don't get super angry and ugly like they used to back in the olden days when the devs said they were going to do things like, I don't know, add a dance floor and put it on an actual expansion box and then never deliver. So
yeah, very true.
All right, I think that's that. Let's talk about PvP news.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right, let's talk about the news. So stuff otherwise that we know of. There is the Void.gg had their second Rated Solo Shuffle tournament on the 29th of October. So I think I did this correctly. I don't know, Big, you can correct me if you know the truth on this, since you did last time. But I have Lincoln Bio, who is the top DPS, and Bots. Shoot, I said that wrong. Botbox as the top healer won that one. So that was kind of cool. They were looking for people that were non-ranked ones. A bunch of gladiators, which I think was pretty cool. A pretty neat idea. I don't know if it got as much fanfare, only because I think with the lack of streamers and the lack of big names, I don't know. I didn't really see a lot about it on Twitter, unlike I saw about the 5K one they did before the Invitational. What about? Did you guys watch this at all?
I did not. I watched a little bit. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just like watched a few rounds.
Okay. Was it
But
as
I-
hype
to
as the
be-
first one?
No. But I mean, and to be clear, like these weren't like there was no rank ones, but these were like 2,700 players. Like these are still
Yeah.
good players. So
All right. I'm assuming Jake didn't watch any, so he's being
No,
quiet.
no, I didn't at all.
All right. What about the OTK Makara tournament?
I loved that tournament. It was the best tournament
Okay.
ever.
Tell me about it, because I didn't watch it.
No, this is the problem. I actually genuinely haven't had time to actually watch any of this, and it's made me really sad because
Oh.
I feel like I've missed. Yeah, no, genuinely, I feel like I've missed out on lots of stuff.
The Makara tournament was interesting because it was a lot of gimmicks. I'll say that much, right? I mean, that's kind of the point. There's a lot of crazy things. If you want to watch any duel from that tournament, watch Snuts' duel versus J-Law. That was probably the highlight of the tournament. There was some crazy high-level plays happening there.
Alright.
So go watch that. Warlock versus Warrior. That's like the hardest matchup for Warlock.
Indeed. Whereabouts in the
Yeah.
tournament was that? Was that like in the last third, the first third, middle?
It was not. I don't think it was semifinals. It was round before semifinals, so it was kind of
Okay.
mid bracket.
Okay. I'll have to check that out then. I personally, I love Snuts. Like, he has
Yeah.
his brain blows me away. Like, his gameplay is amazing to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really surprised he won. Not surprised
Yeah.
one bit.
Nope, me neither.
So,
I thought he was gonna win. He's the best player in the game, best player of all time, so might as
Mhm.
well win a dueling tournament.
Indeed.
It's not just a dueling tournament; it's everything that they've done. Kind of,
That was the duel to the
Situation.
death.
yeah, it's
Mm.
crazy, absolutely mental. Honestly, yeah, just really well done by them.
I wonder. I feel like if somebody is like a business major or like a commerce major, I feel that there is some sort of thesis on market influence that could be made based off of what happened to that auction house on that server, both
Yeah.
leading up to and the fallout afterwards.
Yeah, I heard there was some. I saw that grime where Zico was buying frost resistance rings so no one else could. It was definitely everything was. That was. I mean, honestly, that's why I think I liked it. That was the grimiest tournament in WoW's history. Like
It's up there, yeah.
it was doing as much as you could to cheat without actually it being cheating. That's what I'll say. Is like that's what it was like.
Well, yeah, there was some interesting use of game mechanics. I guess you can say that.
Yes.
all right. So we talked about this briefly, just talking about the crowd side, but the BlizzCon Guild Class Showcase happened. Congratulations to Echo for winning both the Arena and the Dungeon Showcase. So kudos to them. Some beautiful little trophies that were given out. The glass chunk with on a almost like an obsidian or a black base looked really nice with some etching on it. So, I guess the question is, do you guys think that's going to be the, like, forgetting the stage and how that was done up, but the idea of the showcase and being it arena, dungeon, and supposedly raid, but I don't think the raid ever happened at the BlizzCon this time. But do you think that's going to be the way it's going to happen from now on?
I hope not. I hope it's an actual tournament because single elimination. What, there's 3 rounds that were played, right? That was not. I mean, I liked it, but could have been a lot better.
Fair. I think for trying to get everything done in 12 hours or less, actually, I think it was a good way they did it. But yeah, I wish there was more. I wish there's more PvP. I'm really tired of just arena. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, maybe a solo shuffle tournament at BlizzCon could be interesting, or a BG Blitz tournament. Who knows?
I think a BG Blitz would be amazing.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that there wasn't another dragon flying tournament, the dragon race. I was really surprised by that. So, all right. Well, I think that's about it, actually. I can't think of much else to talk about as far as news or anything else. I actually, I didn't even look to see if there's any hot fixes. Oops. On the fly, let's see if there's any hot fixes. I don't think so. Well, no, yeah, because the patch just came out. So yeah, no hot fixes. Okay. Phew. Saved by that one. That said, I think there was I can't say it's hot fix that got put out. I know I saw something about there being seeds or something like that were an infinite grind for rep. I think that got fixed out with a patch today. And then I want to say there was a couple other things that were tweaked out. But yeah, nothing that's been truly announced. So, all right. Now that I covered off that little mistake of mine in the show notes, on to the shout outs. Big. You got any shout outs?
Shout out to oh my gosh, you caught me off guard.
Okay, Jake, any shout outs?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out all the competitors of the guild PvP event. I think it was really great that we had a form of it at BlizzCon. I thought it went really well. I also want to give a shout out to the PvE guys as well. I think everyone performed fantastically, although obviously some certain sides of it weren't great. However, I am really happy that it was there and it was exciting. It was great to see an EU versus NA sort of situation kind of going on. Really big shout out to them. I think they did really well.
Nice.
I'm gonna shout out Caden on Twitter, who flew all the way from Morocco to BlizzCon, and he came up to me and he asked me for an autograph on his mouse pad, and I signed his mouse pad, and I thought that was really cool. And we talked about PvP, we talked about skill capped, and we might have talked about technically PvP. I don't remember. But shout out to Caden from Twitter from Morocco.
That's awesome. I want to shout out Naj.
Oh yeah.
Naj DM'd me directly asking actually him and Barndor both DM'd me directly through the socials asking if we were at BlizzCon or not. I said I wasn't, but you were there, Big, and told both of them to go looking for you. So, but
they both found me. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, it
worked out then. So, but it's so shout out both to actually Barndor and Naj. But yeah, specifically, Naj was like, "Where is everybody? Tell me where to find them." Like he really wanted to meet up with people, so that was pretty cool. So I thought that was awesome. Anyways, shout out to them, and that's about it. Oh, Big. Why don't we close this out and you tell people where they can find us?
I will do that. You can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
Also, you can visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And this is a little thing I tweeted about earlier. We actually have a mount to give away. We have the Jade mount. And what we're going to do is go over to the Bonus Roll Productions. Make sure you drop a comment for our show over there. And we'll collect the names and take a random name drawing from those who start from now being the 8th of November until Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the 13th. So head on over there. You have literally about 5 days to get your name in there and get a chance to win the Jade Bright Foreseer mount. So, all right. Hopefully people heard that. In the meantime, links for everything that we talked about are going to be in the show notes. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.